Hi, it's Willow here. I'm here today to talk about the Saturn and Pisces transit and what I see as a theme related to building proper spiritual foundations, living from a proper spiritual foundation, and the idea that Saturn in Pisces, the 3-year Saturn in Pisces transit from 2023 to 2026, will coincide with such extreme challenges for humanity that anything that is not true spirituality will be crumbling, will be disintegrating, will be basically leaving people in the lurch. Okay, and so one of the most insidious and challenging elements of faux spirituality or false spirituality is the extreme grip that New Age thinking, New Age ideology, and New Age energy have on people. Okay, and in particular, people who would be, say, in the healing realms, the metaphysical realms, the natural health realms. Okay, so New Age thinking, New Age tentacles have wormed their way in to all of these worlds. So that is the worlds of, for example, astrology, right? Astrology and in different types of readers, intuitive readers, psychic readers, etc. The world of organics, right? Organic grocery stores, health food stores, okay? Yoga, that's a big world that where New Age has definitely infringed on the proceedings. What are some other areas? Yes, alternative healing, alternative health realms, natural health products, natural health realms. Okay, so I first became aware of the insidious merging of astrology with New Age beliefs when I first started studying astrology. So I first started studying astrology about 20 years ago, in 2003. And unbeknownst to me, as a person, as a newbie to the subject, let's say, what I was reading and what I was consuming as far as astrological knowledge had, in many cases, been merged with New Age beliefs. Okay. And so I, unfortunately, at that time, could not differentiate between just astrological knowledge and New Age thinking, right? And it took a couple years, maybe about 18 months to 2 years, to fully figure out what had gone wrong there. Okay. And so from that point forward, from the point forward where I learned how to identify New Age ideas, New Age idioms, New Age concepts, New Age terminology, and also just New Age energy, okay? Because there's just an energy to it. And so once you're able to pinpoint this, you can pick it out very quickly, right? Because people will just sort of throw out these sort of same terms, same idioms, same platitudes, right? And you'll start to, oh yeah, I've heard that before, right? So I started out as an official New Age critic, kind of around 2008, 2009. So I wrote a series of articles to sort of what I call deconstructing New Age, deconstructing the New Age pyramid scheme, the pseudo-spiritual pyramid scheme, deconstructing this idea of spiritual hierarchy in general and things of that nature. So I've been sort of like, out there loud and proud as a New Age critic. And that is a rarity. That's a rarity in the world of astrology, right? Because, I don't really want to put a number on it, but I would hazard a guess that between 70 and 80% of today's astrologers are New Age of some sort. Okay, so whether they recognize it or not, they're promoting New Age ideas and, again, New Age energy through their practices of astrology. Okay. So this is the one big caution that I would put out there for people who do want to be able to see through the stuff and do want to be able to separate their true spiritual foundation from any influence by this pseudo-spiritual pyramid scheme, is that, and I've come across this many times, okay? So many astrologers and other practitioners who claim to be critics of New Age or claim to be critiquing New Age are actually New Age themselves, or are at the very least furthering New Age ideas and New Age terminology and New Age concepts through their work, okay? And so this seems to be a blind spot for people, okay? Because time and time and time again, I have come into contact with people, again, who claim to be critiquing New Age, but who are actually promoting New Age, right? And this, again, this has happened, you know, as far back as like 13, 14, 15 years ago, okay? So let's just say I'm experienced in this world. And so when I was younger, I was so horrified by the fact that people had been parasitized by this pseudo-spiritual pyramid scheme, and they couldn't even see that they had been parasitized, but they were all sort of speaking as if they were reading out of a New Age 101 textbook. Like it was all the same concepts, same ideas, same idioms, you know, just the same kind of escapist, you know, escapist tendencies, right? And I just thought to myself, like, how is this happening? Like, how are people not aware that that's what, you know, that's what they're furthering, that's what they're aware of, but, or that's what they're doing with themselves. But very, very infrequently do people actually wear their New Age status on their sleeve. Now, some of them will, right? Because they want to be straight up New Age guru types. But other people keep that hidden, okay? Either because they're not aware of it themselves, or because, you know, they just want to be seen as this more edgy, more in the know type of person, okay? So I'm not going to, this is not a video to completely expose New Age, because I've basically done that, you guys. Like I said, I've written multiple articles that are free on my blog. I've put out this zine, Deconstructing New Age, the New Age movement as a spiritual control mechanism. I would also say mind and spiritual control mechanism. Okay, so there are certain references that people will put out there, references to Helena Blavatsky, Madame Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Theosophy. You know, those are kind of like some of the roots of this stuff. That people will throw out there. If they're influenced by those things, they are almost certainly influenced by New Age, okay? And they're almost certainly promoting New Age through what they're doing. Okay, so the deconstructing New Age element is one angle. And again, I've sort of provided the information people need to identify it on a kind of a superficial level. I've provided multiple critiques of the whole scheme and why it is terrible for humanity and for life on this planet. Okay, so I've already kind of covered that. I can certainly do lessons on this for people if someone wants to just do a, you know, quick hit training session on how to recognize this stuff. But the point of this video is Saturn and Pisces in particular, right? And Saturn is about biding our time, okay? And letting things progress naturally over time, okay? And so my feeling about this is, again, that Saturn and Pisces from March 2023 to February 2026 is going to coincide with such extreme challenges for humanity that anyone who is invested in the New Age scheme is basically going to find that scheme will not support them in these times. It will find that scheme does not provide true spiritual strength or spiritual sustenance or spiritual guidance in these times, okay? And so I think that the real spiritual work, so the spiritual work for the people who, again, see through New Age, very much want to lift this illusion, delusion, toxic psychic mix off of people, right? The work is actually going to be waiting until people get to such a crisis point, until they're having such a spiritual crisis, right? Because they're what they've invested in is in a state of wreckage all around them, right? What they were invested in didn't come true. They didn't ascend to 5D reality to the point where none of the problems of Earth will reach them, et cetera, right? So as people start to sort of come into contact with the failings, the massive failings of this scheme, right? They're going to start to have spiritual crises, emotional crises, psychological crises. They're going to start to break down, right? So the real work is to yoink, pull those people out of the wreckage, right? Before it takes them down with it. Okay? So that's the spiritual work that I am looking to do. That's the spiritual work that I am looking to help train other people to do, or support other people to do with my, again, 20 years of experience, my work, my writing, my research, my stuff of this nature. So a few of the reasons why I'm so vehemently opposed to New Age is that really it just steals people's minds. It steals people's spiritual energy. It steals people's gifts. It steals people's talents, right? Because people are feeding their personal talents and skills and gifts into a pseudo-spiritual pyramid scheme, right? Into something that's false. That's a false version of spirituality. So it's just literally stealing people's time on this planet, and it's making them much less effective than they could be if they were operating from an independent stance, if they were not feeding their time and energy and talents and gifts into this pyramid scheme, right? It teaches people that they are too enlightened for any type of grassroots resistance, for any type of activism, for any type of pushing back, right, against the power establishment. In their mind, it's all part of the divine plan. So passivity and just kind of navel gazing, right? That is entrenched as enlightened ways of doing things, right? The truly enlightened don't have to concern themselves with the problems of the rest of the dense and 3D dwelling humans, right? You definitely don't have to lift a finger to oppose any of this stuff, because it's all rightful, because it's all part of the divine plan. To the point that they will explain away genocide, democide, mass murder by the state as, yep, all part of the divine plan. Yep, those are just the dense 3D dwelling humans being sloughed off so we enlightened people can live in paradise on Earth. I mean, cuckoo, pretty crazy shit. But that's, it feeds a level of spiritual narcissism. It feeds spiritual materialism. It feeds like the trendiness and the clickiness of human beings, right? They all want to be like, seen as superior, seen as special, seen as, it feeds into these very dark elements of, human beings, right? It sort of brings out the worst in human beings. So these types of efforts, are always a long game, right? So I've been a New Age critic, like I say, since, 2008, 2009, and I'm talking vehement New Age critic, like zero tolerance for New Age BS. And I'm known, for that work. Okay. But like I say, New Age has only been proliferated much more widely in, say, the past 15 years of my astrological career. It's the same exact ideas, concepts, idioms, terminology, same themes over and over and over again being regurgitated. So again, it's very easy to pick out. They change it up a little bit as the different eras go on, but it's very easy to pick out. It's very easy to pick out the energy of it once you realize the energy of it. But as I say, I know that there are, of course, I'm not the only New Age critic in the world. Certainly not. There are many, many, many critics. There are many people who see through New Age, right, and have right from the beginning. But still, we have not been able to turn the tide as the bulk. And again, I'm saying maybe 80%, 70 to 80% of the natural health world, the metaphysical world, is caught up in this stuff, and to some degree. Okay, so it might not be their whole shtick. It might not be their whole thing, right? But they weave in certain ideas. They look up to certain New Age people, and it's there. The influence is there. So this is a long game that we're working on. Long game, and of course we know that we are under some degree of spiritual attack all the time on Earth, right? And that the powers that be definitely would love to disconnect us from our spiritual source, our spiritual origins, knowledge of our spiritual nature, from true spiritual principles. And they would like to implant a false version of spirituality to lead people astray. And I strongly believe that New Age in its entirety is part of that scheme that is designed to lead people away, and it's also designed to disempower people who would otherwise be powerful forces for beneficial change on this planet, powerful forces for healing and health and choosing a better way. Okay, and that's what really grinds my gears, is that they hijack people who otherwise would be just beautiful, wonderful, beings on this planet doing epically awesome work, right? And so they teach them that if you fall into these New Age schemes, that you're really doing something special, but it's not the case. So what I'm looking to here is this Saturn in Pisces transit leads us. So basically nothing in astrology exists in a vacuum, right? Different transits are linked to different other transits, different aspects are linked to different other aspects through history. Okay, and so what we saw, just for a little bit of background, what we saw at the beginning of the COVID debacle, okay, the orchestrated psychological operative, let's say, and authoritarian lockdown that went on. That was kicked off right as Saturn and Pluto formed a historic conjunction, and they formed that conjunction in January 2020 at 22 degrees Capricorn. Okay, and so Pluto is now leaving Capricorn. In 2023 and 2024, it goes back and forth between late Capricorn and early Aquarius. Okay, and so anyway, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction is kind of like it's a heavy hitter, and it's also something that, again, it kind of indicates power orchestrations, power machinations, and on a pretty grand scale. Okay, a global scale, right? So we saw that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January 2020, and the next Saturn-Pluto conjunction will occur in Pisces in 2053 and 2054, okay? And so Saturn, I believe that happens at 13 and 14 degrees Pisces, okay? So again, with astrology, the powers that be certainly use astrology to plan their long-range schemes and scams, right? Decades ahead, maybe even centuries ahead. So hey, why don't we? Why can't we? Well, we can. That's the beauty of it, right? So basically, the spiritual foundation that we're putting in from 2023 to 2026 is critical for humanity, and especially humanity's true spirituality and true spiritual nature, to survive that next Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Pisces, because certainly the powers that be have their schemes and scams planned for that conjunction, that next conjunction. And I would say, with all the transhumanist, artificial intelligence, robotics, all this hogwash, that Saturn Pluto conjunction in Pisces is planned to again, disconnect people from true spirituality, their true spiritual heritage, their ancestors, their spiritual nature, their true spiritual guidance, right? Designed to disconnect people from that and implant some sort of false version of spirituality. And whether this is whether these are individuals, whether these are just ideas. Again, New Age is sort of it's a cult without a singular cult leader, basically, is what New Age is. It operates like a cult. I won't say it is a cult, but it operates like a cult, with the adherents kind of, again, repeating the same old ideas over and over, regurgitating. And each new person who comes to it feels like they're bringing it's just these fresh spiritual insights. They're bringing something new to the table. There's nothing new being brought to the New Age table that I can see, okay? And maybe just getting a little bit craftier as far as portraying themselves as critics of New Age when they are actually just straight up blatant New Age people, or they are connected to some other form of pseudo-spirituality, right? So something that is not true, not just, and not good for this planeto. Okay, so again, we're looking at Saturn in Pisces, March 2023 to February 2026, setting humanity up for the Saturn-Pluto conjunction at 13 and 14 degrees Pisces in 2053 and 2054. Okay, so that might sound like a really long time ahead, but honestly, 30 years in human history is like blink of an eye. Blink of an eye. So we are really digging deep. Okay, we're really digging deep during this particular transit of Saturn and Pisces to ensure that our foundations are solid, secure, that they have nothing false built into them, that nothing has been slipped by, right, into this foundation, because we need this foundation under us, okay? And the world around us needs us to be grounded in this true spiritual foundation, because the false forms of spirituality, the false, the houses of cards, right, the pyramid schemes that are pseudo-spirituality are going to collapse. And if people are not sort of, again, if we're not there to sort of yank people out of the wreckage, this is gonna, people are gonna spiral. Okay, people are gonna be, and honestly, I think I'm already starting to see this. I think I'm already starting to see the cracks in the foundations of New Age and many other probably pseudo-spiritual schemes and scams. I think people are already kind of starting to break down under the stress of this false paradigm that that they've unfortunately invested themselves in and invested their precious personal energy, their minds, their words. I'm a writer, and I consider writing a sacred gift. I consider words to be extremely powerful, right, for good or ill. And so the fact that people's words are being stolen from them and they're being implanted with things that they're just parroting out that just are pretty well meaningless, right? If not meaningless, it's destructive, okay? So they're parroting out these ideas, and they think that they're an original voice, it's an original thought, but it's not. It's just the same old crap that has been regurgitated basically since the late 1800s, and maybe even earlier. That's when Blavatsky and Bailey were doing their thing, right? So, okay, the one criticism that always exists, right, is that, oh, well, New Age is doing all these wonderful things. It's bringing astrology to the people. It's bringing crystal healing to the people. It's, there's so much good related to New Age. Okay, the good parts of New Age are actually being misappropriated. Okay, so New Age is actually latching onto things that are real, okay? And so that would be like real astrology, real divination, real energy healing, real crystal healing, et cetera, organic food, just all these things in general, right? So it's not that those foundational things themselves are faulty or wrong. It's that New Age kind of, it adds, it just sort of like, again, parasitizes these things, right? Until those things are merged with New Age beliefs, New Age information, New Age ideas, New Age energy, right? And so it's not a matter of getting rid of those foundational things. It's a matter of separating what's real from the false layer that New Age puts on things. Okay, so it's a matter of getting rid of the poison, getting the poison out of it, right? Because it's been, some of these things have been poisoned, and they are getting people to swallow it whole without realizing that there's poison in there, right? And so going back to me learning astrology now, I'm not a stupid person. I had a journalism degree at the time. I was certainly opposed to the power establishment at the time. I had specialized research skills, and even I didn't realize that astrology had been merged with New Age to the degree that it had been, right? And certain schools of astrological thought are more New Agey than others, certainly. But this just shows you that otherwise intelligent, heartfelt people, people that are otherwise have good intentions for the world, that want to be a helpful force, right? Those people can get parasitized by this stuff very, quite easily, and it can become difficult to extricate yourself from that. Okay, so there's a little bit of probably eating crow, a little bit of eating crow here, but not really, because again, anyone can get fooled by a cult. Anyone can get fooled by a cult leader, especially when you're in a weak moment, right? Especially when you're sort of in a crisis state and you're very depressed and low, and you're looking for anything to make you, to give this world meaning, to give your suffering meaning, right? And unfortunately, when people are at that low point, because New Age is so rampant, so widespread, a lot of people get sucked into it at that point, at their lowest points. And it can be very difficult to work your way out of that, right? Because New Age has a lot of money. It has a lot of fun, cool, hot looking people, these sexy, I don't know, ethereal peeps. So a New Age is extremely well established. It has a lot of it has strongholds in some of the most beautiful physical locations in the world, right? It has these beautiful people, exciting people that get to jet set around and do their speaking tours and do these workshops, and I don't know, throw back some peyote, or I don't know what that's all about, because I avoid it. But basically, New Age is so well established that it's very easy to get sucked into that, and then you're rewarded, right? You're rewarded by that scheme, and by that, by the money, and by the glamour, and by the public recognition, and all that glamorous stuff, right? But again, I've written about puncturing Neptunian glamour, and how important it really is to puncture Neptunian glamour, because it's not real. And once reality comes a knocking, right, depending how far from reality you've let yourself go, the being brought down to earth might bring you a long way back down to earth, right? So anyway, so this is just just kind of like a primer on like I'm saying, some of these Saturn and Pisces themes, some of the historical context, because of course after Pluto in Aquarius, we have the Pluto and Pisces transit. And so the Pluto and Pisces transit very strongly could indicate the attempted annihilation, Pluto, of human spirituality, Pisces. Okay, so I would say again that the spiritual work we're doing, the foundational spiritual work we're doing during this Saturn and Pisces transit, sets us up for success or failure, and also sets humanity in general up for success or failure during that Pluto in Pisces transit, and in particular that Saturn Pluto conjunction in 2053 and 2054. So anyway, there you have it. There's some context on this. Again, if anyone's interested in learning more about this, I certainly have more resources as far as deconstructing New Age and how to pinpoint New Age and how to critique it yourself. So anyone who's interested can contact me on that front. But otherwise, spiritual warriors, spiritual workers out there, solidarity, and keep on trucking, because we need you now more than ever.